Welcome to Final Cut Pro on iPad. Are you ready to dive into the world of editing? My name is Jared Ewing, and for over 2 decades, I have been teaching the art of video editing using Final Cut. In that time, I've enjoyed watching people become empowered to share their content with the world. I've also seen the app go through some drastic changes, and I'm excited to see what you are able to create with the iPad version of Final Cut Pro. Whether you are a complete beginner or a seasoned editor with years of experience on the desktop version, this course aims to familiarize you with editing on the iPad. Next, I'll answer why you should use Final Cut Pro, what you should know before taking this course, and how to get the content needed to follow along. Why is an iPad version of Final Cut Pro needed when the macOS version has existed for years? Well, based on the information provided on Apple's website, the iPad version of Final Cut Pro allows you to bring your entire studio to your shoot. The portability, computing power of Apple Silicon, and quality of the camera make the iPad an excellent tool. Adding Final Cut Pro to the iPad empowers storytellers like yourself to tell a story in any setting with capabilities to capture, edit, add titles, mix audio, grade color, and share that rival the macOS version. During this series, you will learn the ins and outs of the Final Cut Pro app as we answer questions related to capturing, importing, organizing, and editing content. We will dive into adding effects like titles, transitions, and color correction. Then, look at exporting the project as a video and transferring the project to a Mac for further editing. You don't need a background in video editing, but an understanding of what you may want to create can help. Look for the links that pop up for additional videos and tips. If you find yourself wanting more, check out the full version of Final Cut Pro in this video series on our website, anawesomeguide.com/finalcut. The website includes downloadable content that you can use to follow along in this video. I encourage you to use the iPad or an iPhone to record videos to edit with. In this course, we are editing video that was shot with an iPhone with a frame size of 4K and 60 frames per second. It is helpful to know the camera settings as they can impact the editing process. Compared to the desktop, the iPad version of Final Cut supports Apple formats, and, well, at least at this time, that's about it. Check out the user guide for more details. In addition to the user guide, Apple, the developers of Final Cut Pro, maintain a support page at support.apple.com/Final Cut Pro. If you are running into issues, this page may help. It includes a list of troubleshooting steps to try if Final Cut isn't working. If you have questions, please reach out through anawesomeguide.com/support or down in the comments. This video is for anyone new to video editing or looking to try out the iPad to see if it can fit into a larger video production workflow. Final Cut Pro for macOS is a professional tool, and with the addition of Final Cut Pro for iPad, the pair bring it to a new level. This course covers the necessary steps to get editing on the iPad quickly. Next, we cover which iPads support Final Cut Pro, how much it costs, create a backup plan, and understand how Final Cut stores projects and video files. Will it work with iPad Air 4? I received that question less than 24 hours after Final Cut Pro for iPad was released. While I don't have insight into Apple's future plans, I can say that at the time of this recording, no, that iPad Air can't run Final Cut Pro. In this video, I'll provide resources to tell if an iPad will work with Final Cut and how to set up the iPad. Apple.com/Final Cut Pro for iPad has fine print at the bottom to state that Final Cut requires an iPad with Apple M1 chip or later, and iPad OS 16.4 or later. The requirements are likely to change in the future, and before purchasing an iPad, check this page as a guide to see if it will work with Final Cut. If you have an iPad, use the Try It Free link on the website to load the App Store page, which shows if the current iPad is compatible. iPads, like most of their Mac counterparts, are not user upgradable, So, if you're considering an iPad to use with Final Cut, try to get one with a faster processor, like M2 over M1, and more storage, say 512 over 256, etc. If you don't already know, video files are large, with the higher quality 4K ProRes files taking up about 6 gigabytes of storage per minute of video. If you plan to edit longer videos, consider that extra storage. To determine the specs of an iPad, locate the Settings app. Tap General, About, to see the model name, generation, and storage capacity. If you're curious what is currently taking up space on an iPad, go back and tap iPad Storage to see a graph and a list of the apps taking up the most storage. In most cases, you can manage the storage of an iPad directly in the app. In other cases, you may want to use the Files app, which is similar to the Finder on macOS. Use Files to manage the iPad's internal storage, iCloud Drive, or connect an external drive to copy files to and from it. There are many features of iPad OS that can be helpful while working with Final Cut. Use Control Center to enable Stage Manager, for example, which allows multiple app windows to be displayed at the same time. Drag clips from files or photos into a Final Cut project, or have those notes from a producer on screen while you make edits. Returning to the website, if you haven't done so already, tap on the free trial option to open the App Store to download Final Cut Pro. After opening the app, you'll be asked to subscribe to either a monthly or yearly plan. In the US, $4.99 per month or $49 per year. This is what will be charged after the 1-month free trial. Manage the subscription directly in the Final Cut Pro app by tapping the upper left corner and then tapping on the Account button. With Stage Manager enabled, an additional 3 dots shows up at the top of Final Cut Pro. Tap that to enter or exit full screen, among other options. As we dive into Final Cut Pro, it's helpful to know where your files are stored. The current version only allows editing of media that's stored on the iPad's local storage in the Final Cut project. If you've used the desktop version of Final Cut Pro, you may be wondering if projects work the same way and if there are libraries and events too. The good news is that managing content in Final Cut Pro for iPad is simpler. Instead of libraries and events, there is a single list of projects. If needed, tap the 3 dots to download the demo project to get some sample media to practice with. It will also provide you with an edited timeline. After it is downloaded, tap the Lunar New Year project and edit to open the San Francisco celebration timeline. Welcome to Final Cut Pro for iPad. Before getting into it, if something is accidentally deleted, you'll want a backup to recover from. An iPad can easily be backed up to iCloud or by connecting it to a computer. I strongly recommend setting up and maintaining a backup. With Final Cut Pro on iPad, I'm finding it a little easier to lose edits and harder to revert to a previous version. To make it quicker to revert to a previous version, I've been occasionally making duplicate timelines. Tap the back button in the upper left corner, tap the name of the timeline, tap the 3 dots, and choose Duplicate. Then tap 3 dots to rename the project as a backup. You can now return to the primary project and make all the changes you want without losing that previous version. Just remember that this is not a replacement for an iCloud or computer backup of the entire iPad. If something happens to the iPad, you'll be glad you have a backup on the cloud or computer to restore from. Editing can be a very long process, and losing data happens. Cover yourself with a backup. To summarize, the Apple website includes the iPad requirements, and if accessible, you should try to get a faster processor and greater storage. If you have the iPad, you can check this through the iPad OS Settings app. The Files app allows navigation of the internal, externally connected, and cloud storage locations. The Final Cut Pro app stores projects, which contain timelines, which are the edited videos. Make sure to create a backup plan to prevent losing data, and consider duplicating timelines occasionally to make reverting changes easier. Next up are the steps to create a project and bring your media into Final Cut Pro for iPad. I'll explain how Final Cut stores iPad projects and empower you to edit confidently, knowing where to find the project and media. From the home screen, tap Final Cut Pro to launch the app. If the demo or other timeline loads, tap the back button in the upper left corner to take you to the project screen. The left column displays a list of projects. Access to settings, account info, and help is available from the button in the upper left. If you don't have any projects, tap the three dots in the upper left to download the demo project. This is also where an existing iMovie or Final Cut project can be imported. Note that you can't import Final Cut Pro projects from the desktop version of Final Cut Pro. With a project selected, information and a preview is displayed on the right. To create a new project, tap the plus in the lower left. Select a name and desired format. Similar to the macOS version, use automatic settings to set the timeline based on the first clip added to it. Tap Continue to see a list of sources Final Cut can import media from. Although we could tap on one of these and import our files, let's tap Blank to start with an empty project. This is the Final Cut Pro interface on an iPad. Don't worry if your layout is slightly different. Many areas of the interface can be hidden to maximize others. The upper left corner shows the name of the current project and a back button to show the list of all our projects. Before importing media, I suggest glancing up there to verify the correct project is loaded. At the top center, tap the arrow down, which is the import button. As seen earlier, we can import from the Photos app or Files. First, select Photos. It should look familiar. Simply tap a photo to select it, or tap and drag to select multiple. Accessories like the Magic Keyboard and Apple Pencil can drastically simplify the navigation process. The up and down arrows on the keyboard move the selected area, and the pencil allows precision selection and dragging on the right. Tap Show Selected at the bottom to see a summary of what will be imported, then tap Add to start the import. Return to the Import button, and this time select Files. Here you can select to import from other folders on the iPad, or go into external sources like iCloud and external drives. Similar to what we did with Photos, use the up and down arrows on the keyboard or an Apple Pencil to navigate and select files. Additional view and search options are available in the upper left. Once selected, tap Open to import the media. If you're going back and forth with the apps, don't forget that Stage Manager can be useful for this. Use Command Tab on the keyboard to switch between apps. Start dragging a clip from Files and Command Tab back to Final Cut to drop it in the browser. All of this media is being copied to the Final Cut Pro project, which is saved in the app. Return to the project screen to see how large the project is. Update the name of the timeline on this screen. I like to check the iPad storage we looked at earlier to see how much space the entire app is taking up. Checking this occasionally can help avoid an import failed surprise when the storage is full. Command Tab back to Final Cut. Edit to open the timeline, and let's look at the built-in camera. Tap the camera icon at the top center, and at first glance, this may seem like the normal built-in camera app. As you dive a little deeper, you'll notice some more advanced options. At the top left is the frame size and rate. 4K is the larger size, and 720 being smaller. Next to that is the frame rate. A higher number, like 60, means more frames are recorded. Knowing which frame size and rate to choose is an art and really depends on what you're trying to create. As an example, if you're recording fast-moving action like sports, a higher frame rate may be appropriate. On the other side, to get more of a film feel, the slower 24 frames per second can work. In any case, if your iPad supports it, an option to record videos in ProRes may be available. This creates larger files that takes up significantly more storage, but it can be worth it for the improved quality. If you don't see the ProRes option but believe your iPad supports it, check the camera settings in the lower left. The Tools tab includes grids and an overexposure toggle. This adds zebra stripes to areas that are being clipped because they are too bright. To fix this, use the exposure slider on the right. Additional settings are available, including a slow-mo toggle for shooting higher frame rates. Push and hold an area to lock the auto exposure and focus so it doesn't change while you're recording. To adjust the focus manually, tap the AF button on the left, then swipe to focus on a subject as needed. Tap the record button to start capturing a clip, and to perform a rack focus, adjust the focus slider. Tap Done when you're finished recording to add the clips to the project. You now know that importing files into Final Cut Pro for iPad is as easy as tapping a few items. First, create a project to store the timeline and media. Then, tap Edit to open the project. Use the Import Photos or Files buttons to bring in existing media. Tap the camera icon to use the built-in camera, which has access to additional options while capturing. All import options copy the media to the project, so keep an eye on your free space using the Settings app. If you've captured something incredible, share a link to it in the comments. Without the complexity of events and libraries, organizing with Final Cut Pro on an iPad is simpler. However, it doesn't negate the importance, and you should follow these steps to organize before diving into editing. Simply sorting the bad out and marking the good might be enough, and if not, add keywords to make sorting easier. If the browser is closed, tap the button in the upper right to bring it back. To play back a clip, tap it to select it, and then use the playback buttons below the viewer. Tap the rewind or fast forward buttons multiple times to increase the speed. Or use the J, K, and L keys on the keyboard. J rewinds, K pauses, and L plays forward. Spacebar is used to start and stop playback. If the entire clip is unusable, reject it by tapping the reject button, or delete on the keyboard. The red line indicates rejected. In most cases, I like to hide the rejected clips while I'm editing. Tap the filter menu and choose to hide rejected. We can also use this menu to choose what types of clips are visible, like video only. In most cases, I keep the camera recording before and after the action. This provides flexibility while editing, but also means the entire clip isn't a favorite. Drag the yellow handles to mark an in and out point in the clip's film strip. Using an Apple Pencil or Magic Keyboard can make this selection process easier. If you don't have the accessories, the jog wheel is worth a look. Tap this icon to display the jog wheel. Drag it to either side of the screen and position it where comfortable. Tap to open or close the wheel. Spin the wheel to move forward or backward. Note the time code display, which shows hours, minutes, seconds, and frames. A slow turn of the wheel, and we are moving frame by frame through a clip. In this clip, I want the favorite part to start just before the One Glow's lights turn on. There. With my left hand, I can tap the Mark In Point button, press I on the keyboard, or tap the Mark In on the jog wheel. So many options, but you'll want to practice to see what works best for you. I'll mark the out point after the lights start blinking red. With a range selected, tap the heart or F key on the keyboard. The green bar indicates the favorite. To remove a selection as favorite or rejected, select it and press the X. You may notice the word next to the jog wheel changes from browser to playhead. This indicates what the jog wheel is controlling. Tap the timeline or browser to switch between them. Expand the sorting options with keywords. With part of a clip selected, tap the key to show and add keywords. Tap one or more to display the clips matching those keywords. If you plan to move this project to your computer later, this information will move with it. Additional information for a selected item is available in the Info Inspector. Tap Inspect or Command 4 on the keyboard to display the inspector. If needed, adjust the name, color space, and log processing settings here. The resolution of this clip is 3840 by 2160 or 4K, and the frame rate is 60p. All of this is great for working with a single clip, but it's common to want to reject or add keywords to multiple clips at the same time. To select multiple clips, press Select and tap on the clips or tap and drag to select many clips. Use the pencil in the lower left to mark the clips. Note that there is also a trash can which deletes clips. This is different from rejecting them. A rejected clip remains accessible in Final Cut. The trash can deletes the clip permanently. Be careful with that one, as without a backup, the clip is not recoverable. This button creates a multicam clip, which we will be coming back to. From favorites to keywords to media types, the options for organizing and displaying clips in the browser is adequate. Utilize and become familiar with the jog wheel for fine-tuning a selection and marking in and out points. The jog wheel will return as we continue with editing. With media imported and organized, we can start to build a project. We'll explore how to get around the timeline, add clips, transitions, text, and music to build a rough cut. If the timeline is minimized, look for the name of the timeline and drag it up to reveal the timeline. Next to the name is the total duration of the project and the timeline settings. Automatic will set the frame size and rate based on the first clip added. Tap and hold for a split second and then start dragging the clip down to the timeline to add it. Alternatively, select the clip and tap the Append button. This is adding the clip to the end of the primary storyline. Pinch the timeline to zoom in or out, and if you have the keyboard, use the Shift-Z shortcut for zoom to fit, or Command plus and minus to zoom in and out. Final Cut Pro's magnetic timeline keeps clips connected. To rearrange them, tap and drop the clips in the desired order. To remove a clip, tap on it and press the delete key or the trash can icon. No gap is left behind because all of the clips slide over to fill it in. And in most cases, this is non-destructive editing, which means the original media is available in the browser if we need it later. Play back the project by dragging the playhead to the start or pressing Shift up arrow to jump to the start. Tap the play button under the viewer or spacebar on the keyboard. Don't forget the J, K, and L keys for quickly moving around. Skimming is an even faster way to preview media. Utilize skimming with a trackpad or, if your device supports it, an Apple Pencil. Continue to add clips to the timeline until you have the desired order. One of the most powerful transitions is a cut, where we instantly switch from one shot to the next. However, a cross dissolve to show the passage of time or slow down the pace might be more appropriate. Tap the icon in the upper right to access the transitions browser. Scroll through the categories, and if needed, tap the cloud icon to download them. Then, drag a transition between the two clips to add it. Note that you may see a message saying the clips need to be shortened to add the transition. This is normal, but it will adjust the way the video looks. Make sure to play back the project to verify the video, audio, titles, and other clips are still in the desired order. Adjust the look of the transition in the inspector. And if you want to remove it, tap the transition and then tap the trash can or delete key. Save time by selecting multiple clips and then adding a transition to all of them, or using the Command T shortcut to add the default cross-dissolve transition. You may want a clip like someone talking to continue to play while you see something else. I'll append this clip where I'm talking about the One Glows to the end of the primary storyline. Select a clip in the browser and switch to Connect at Playhead, or use Q on the keyboard. Similar to stacking items on a desk, the connected clip is above the other, and therefore it's visually covering up the one below it. This secondary footage that's on top is traditionally called B-roll. Before the B-roll, I'll add text with name and handle. Switch to the Titles browser to locate a desired lower third title. Tap Connect, and we see the purple line representing the title.
Tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just
Tap on the title in the viewer to make changes to it. The inspector has additional controls, and don't forget the jog wheel to skim through to see the changes.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just the stock lights. That's why I built this easily attachable light system called One Glows. One Glows is a compact and convenient solution.
With the format set, tap Transform to position, scale, and rotate the title as desired. Careful where the title is placed. If it's too close to the edge, it may get cut off. Tap the Viewer Options button in the lower right to enable Safe Area Guides to help with placement. Titles should be inside the inner yellow guide. We are doing this with text, but it also works for video. Select one of the B-roll clips and notice we can change where it is positioned on the screen. Audio is a massive part of most video productions. Import a music clip or utilize the Soundtracks browser. I like the sound of this desk suite, so I'll connect it to the timeline. Shift-Z or a pinch to zoom out to see the entire project, and reposition the track as needed. This music clip is a different color because of its assigned role. In the audio inspector, tap the eye to change the assigned role. In the timeline, notice the lines on the clips. Those are the audio waveforms, which indicate how loud a sound is. These tracks dynamically adjust based on the duration of the clip. With the clip selected, move the playhead to about 1 minute, which is the desired duration for this project. Then press this button to trim the clip. You may notice the waveform adjusted. The song now fades out at this point. This project is over 6 minutes. Tap and drag the edges of the video clips on the primary storyline to shorten them, and move some of the clips off the primary storyline to become B-roll.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just the stock.
I start talking at about this point. To better hear me, the volume of the music should lower. To do this, we need to add keyframes. Tap Volume, and then, with the music clip selected, tap the Add Keyframe button in the lower right. Use the jog wheel to move the playhead forward a few frames, and then add a second keyframe. Use the slider on the left of the timeline to lower the keyframe. Move the playhead to the end of the talking. Looks like we need to extend the music a little. Then add 2 more keyframes. Adjust the second keyframe to be back at a normal level of 0. Play back the clip and adjust the audio as needed. Keep an eye on the audio levels. If you see red, the audio is likely over 0 and too loud. It may not sound like an issue now, but on some speakers and headphones, it will sound distorted.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not
The audio inspector has additional controls for refining the sound, including voice isolation, loudness, and noise removal tools.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just the stock lights. That's why
The tools work surprisingly well, but they can't fix all mistakes. The best option is to record high-quality audio to start with. I'll add audio recorded with a better microphone and sync it up to the clip. In this section, we created a new project, added video clips to the primary storyline, edited a rough cut together with additional clips, transitions, a connected title, and music. You got an introduction to animation with audio keyframes to control the volume level over time. You may be excited to continue editing, and you may also be running into limitations. Let's continue to build on this rough cut with some additional tools. If you are running into issues, drop a comment below to let me know which ones are giving you the most trouble. Final Cut Pro for iPad includes a number of features to help edit, refine, and polish the rough cut. The timeline, as an example, has an options menu I suggest becoming familiar with. Under Behaviors, use the Enable or Disable Snapping button to make it easier for an item to link to the nearest keyframe or edit point. The next enables or disables the Position tool. Tap and drag a clip to move it. Notice the magnetic part of the timeline is ignored. Just be careful, as this allows overriding other clips and inserting gap clips, which can negatively impact the visuals of your video if not used properly. I frequently turn these tools on and off while editing, so don't feel like you're locked into using any of these settings. In fact, the next option places buttons on the interface to make it even quicker to enable or disable snapping and position. Let's refine the start of the dialogue.
I was tired of riding in the dark.
Currently, the cut happens and then I start talking. It's common to want to hear the person talking before the video appears. This is known as a split edit and is easy to accomplish with Final Cut. Thanks to the dedicated audio recording, the video and audio are separated. Switch to the Edge Select mode to easily select the edit point and move it to the right, also known as rolling the edit. This roll extends the B-roll clip and shortens the stand-up. And because the audio is separated, it remains in place.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not.
Visually, this is better, but the audio still needs some work. The B-roll audio has a hard cut, but it would be better with a fade. Press and hold the clip and choose Expand Audio Components. Tap and drag the audio to extend it. Notice the video stays in place. Pinch to zoom in and use the volume view to add audio keyframes, creating a fade in. Shift Z or pinch out to fit the project in the view.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just the stock light.
Use the Options menu to expand or collapse all clips. Use the Appearance tab to adjust clip height, and when not in volume view, show audio meters on the right side of the timeline. I frequently get questions related to not being able to make a cut at a certain place on the timeline. Being zoomed in too close to the timeline is usually the cause, because when you're extremely zoomed in, you will see individual frames of the video, represented by this gray area. Press Command B or the split button to split a clip. You'll notice that the split happens at the start of the gray area, which indicates the start of a frame, and cannot happen in between. We don't need that edit, so I'll use Command Z or tap the undo button to go back a step. Then Shift Z for zoom to fit our entire timeline. To refine the placement of clips further, select one and drag the handles to lengthen or shorten the clips. Or utilize the jog wheel to move the playhead and use the buttons in the lower right to trim the start or end points. We used the drop down in the top left of the timeline earlier to switch to the Edge Select mode. When set to clip, tapping a clip selects the entire clip. Change the mode to range to make a larger selection for moving or deleting items. The third option is Edge, which is great for modifying an edge point where two clips meet. If you've had the jog wheel open, you may notice the icon to the left changing. The icon determines if it is controlling the playhead or nudging a selected item. Let's say we want to move the audio fade. Tap near the edit point to move the playhead close. With a pinch or Command plus, zoom in. With nudge selected, the jog wheel controls the position of that keyframe. Tap playhead to move the playhead, tap to switch back to nudge, and now that jog wheel is controlling the placement of both of those keyframes. When finished, tap the X to close the jog wheel. You may see this icon on the clip, which indicates it was recorded with a camera that supports cinematic mode. Select the clip and open the inspector to access the cinematic options, which allow you to adjust the focus of the clip. Use the animate mode in the timeline to add keyframes, allowing a change in focus over time. Unfortunately, the One Glows clip isn't a great example, but if we look at this shot of Pan, the cat, we can see her face and the pictures in the background are in focus. Turning on the cinematic mode, and the background is blurred to bring attention to Pan, because who wouldn't want to look at Pan? Adjusting the depth of field increases or decreases the background blur. Since the cinematic mode won't do the trick for the One Glows, we need to be a little bit more creative, and we can do that by adding a live drawing. Tap the live drawing button at the top center and select the desired setting. Use your finger or Apple Pencil to draw a design on the screen. Tap Done and notice a new connected clip in the timeline to represent the drawing. Play back the clip and you'll see the drawing appearing on the screen as if it was being drawn. Use the inspector to adjust the speed of the animation or disable it completely. Live drawing is a unique feature added to the iPad version of Final Cut Pro, but those live drawing clips will pass over to the full macOS version of Final Cut. One advanced feature from the macOS version that's not missing from the iPad is multicam editing. Although we only had one iPhone recording video on the shoot, we can utilize the multicam feature for the various takes. Select up to 4 clips and tap the button in the lower left to create a new multicam clip. If each of the clips was recorded at the same time with different cameras, syncing with audio can be helpful. In my example, I'll turn it off and name the clip. Then tap Create. Tap and hold a clip to edit the angles, which allows adjustments to how they are synced together. Then, add the clip to the project. Switch to the multicam view and play back the project. Tap an angle to switch to it. This is a powerful tool to edit multiple clips together without having to do it one by one. With additional tools, including snapping, split, trim, live drawing, multicam, and more, refining edits to happen exactly when you want them to is within reach. Spend some time to practice making adjustments with the tools until the project is nearly ready. Utilize the viewer options in the lower right to play back the project in full screen, or detach the viewer with picture-in-picture. Return to the browser and tap Effects to access another tool in the editor's arsenal. The full version of Final Cut Pro for macOS includes a large library of effects. Even though the iPad version might not have as many, the ones it does have come in handy. With a clip selected, create a fast or slow motion effect with the clip speed options in the inspector. If you want to stop on a frame before continuing, tap Insert Freeze Frame. Select one of the connected B-roll clips in your project, and, as we know from earlier, this clip is physically above the other. So in the viewer, it visually appears on top of the other clip, covering up the one below it. In Final Cut, this is the normal way clips are merged together, also known as the normal blend mode. In the video inspector, change the opacity of the connected clip. As the opacity is lowered, we are able to see the clip below it. Remember adding keyframes to change the audio level earlier? You can add keyframes to the opacity to lower and raise it over time. Tap Animate to view keyframes for various video parameters in the timeline. With opacity selected, tap the Add Keyframe button, move the playhead, and use the inspector to set the value. This will add a second keyframe and make the adjustment between the two keyframes. If needed, use the control in the lower right to navigate between keyframes and remove or add as needed. Changing opacity is a very simple way of mixing clips together. Changing how the clips visually blend together by adjusting the blend mode can make a more visually complex effect. Change transform, crop, and distort values in the inspector or using tools in the viewer. These parameters can be animated over time with keyframes. Auto resize can be helpful when adding vertical clips to a horizontal project, or vice versa. Scale to fill adjusts the size of the clip to fill in the left and right sides, instead of leaving them empty. Let's add some of the effects from the browser. Tap and drag to add an effect to a clip. I'll add Tint, which puts a color cast over the entire clip. Use the Effects Inspector to make adjustments. Tap the color and select a color or use the eyedropper to sample a color. To limit an effect to an area, add a mask. Notice the tint is only in the center. Tap the shape mask to make adjustments to its position and size. Stay organized by renaming these masks. Swipe across an effect and use the eye to hide an effect, or the trash can to delete it. To bring more attention to the OneGlows product, add the focused blur effect. This effect blurs everything around the selected area. Use the slider to adjust how much blur there is. To move the blur area around over the course of the clip, use the animate mode. Adjust the center of the effect so that it tracks where it should go across the duration of the clip.
Colors, OneGlows is the solution. The custom.
We can save time by copying the effect and pasting it to others. Tap the 3-dot button and choose Copy Effects. Then go to another clip and paste those effects. I encourage you to experiment with other video and audio effects to get used to them. Don't forget blend modes and the crop tools for mixing multiple clips and creating split screen layouts. Remember that all of these adjustments and effects are non-destructive, which means you can apply them without risking the original media. Next, we look at the masking and keying tools, and after we get into color adjustments. To create a mask or key, it is helpful to understand what the goal is. Navigate to the Backgrounds browser and append a background to the primary storyline. Without a mask or key, this background fills the frame. Go to the Objects browser, which contains generators like shapes. Notice how they all have a checkerboard background. The checkerboard represents the areas that will be keyed out. Connect the play object to the background. We are able to see the background around and inside the play button because it has a key that makes those areas transparent. Back in the browser, I have this clip which uses a green screen. I'll connect this to the background. Adding the green screen keyer effect creates a key for the green areas, leaving the other colors behind. I'll then add a corner mask to remove the areas that don't have the green screen. This is one way to use the masks and keys to mix clips together. Looking at another example, we can create a split screen effect. I'll first append a clip that I want to use as a background. Next, connect a clip. Use the transform controls in the inspector or viewer to position it. Repeat the steps for each clip you want to add. To stylize it a bit further, add a shape mask to round and blur the edges. Then use copy and paste effects to apply that to the other clips. Finally, I'll add a few keyframes to animate each of the clips coming onto the screen. How you mix and match all of these tools is up to you, and I encourage you to try various things to see what's possible. As an example, remember the live drawing feature we looked at earlier? Draw a shape on the screen. Then change the blend mode to stencil alpha. The drawing is used to cut out the clip below it. To add a background, connect another clip so that it's above the live drawing. That way it doesn't get cut. Then set the blend mode to behind to visually place it under the live drawing. As you are working with more and more effects like this, you may notice playback issues. This is normal as the complexity of the effect outperforms the power of the iPad. Final Cut includes features to assist, and you may have noticed the dotted line at the top of the timeline. This indicates a render is needed. Tap and hold a selection to start rendering that portion. Additionally, in the viewer options, change playback setting to quality for a higher quality playback. After rendering, even with all of those changes, the quality and playback speed may not be 100%. Regardless, these settings will display the highest quality possible, and that's recommended when applying color grades and corrections in the next step.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just the stock lights.
Skipping this step can cause your video to miss out on its full potential. A few minutes of color correction can have a huge impact. Professional colorists can spend an enormous amount of time on a single project. There are many tools for color correction, and the iPad has a few to get you started. If you're not sure where to start, that is common. Open the effects browser and scroll down to the color grading presets. Tap a preset to get a preview of what it will look like on the clip. Find one you want to use and drag it onto a clip to apply it. Then open the effects inspector to see how this grade was created. Use the disable button to see before and after the grade was applied. Try making some adjustments to the sliders and use the reset button to go back. Like other effects, add a mask to limit the color change to a specific area. Repeat the steps for additional presets to continue learning about the various color options. When you're ready, try building a color adjustment from scratch. Use the plus button in the effects inspector to add a blank adjustment. Everything is set to 0 and ready for adjustments to be made. What you'll start to realize is that some adjustments are so slight that it can be difficult to see what the change is in the viewer alone. Tap the Viewer Options button and turn on the video scope's waveform. Watch the graph as adjustments are made. Slide the exposure up and down. Dragging up makes everything brighter, so the graph moves up. Dragging down, and the entire graph moves down. Try dragging the highlights up and down, and notice the upper portion of the graph moves. The lower part of the graph, called shadows, can also be adjusted. Pushing the highlights up and pulling the shadows down creates more contrast. The mix slider at the bottom allows all of these adjustments to be mixed with the original clip. Remember how audio levels that hit the red were too loud? Apply a similar rule to the waveform scope. Values over 100 might be clipped, causing issues. We are looking at a few adjustments, but continue practicing with the additional controls. You can also add multiple color adjustments to a single clip. This can be especially helpful if you want to adjust the color of one area of a clip using a mask, and then adjust the color of a separate area of the same clip. Utilize pinch to zoom into an area of the viewer. The percentage displayed in the lower right lets us know how close or far away we are from the image, and allows us to reset it to fit the entire canvas. Just like other effects, use copy and paste effects to add these to other clips. Looking at this second clip, I'd like to bring some more attention to the one glows by darkening everything else. Add a second color adjustment, open it up, and darken the shot. Feel free to experiment here with the other sliders, as there are many stylized ways to darken the clip. But notice the adjustment is impacting the one glows by taking some of that red away. We can fix this with a pair of masks. First, add a mask where we want the adjustment, which really is the entire frame. Then add a second mask for the one glows. Tap the three dots on the one glows mask and choose Subtract. This is telling Final Cut to punch a hole into the first mask. Now the red is really coming through. Continue to color your project, review it, and when it's ready, continue to the next step to share the finished project.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just the stock lights. That's why I built this easily attachable light system called One Glows. One Glows is a compact and convenient solution.
If you're ready to rack up the views, the project needs to be shared out of Final Cut. Like most apps on the iPad, sharing is a simple process. Tap the Share button at the top center of Final Cut to choose an option. Choose to share just video, audio, or the current frame. Audio and current frame shares don't have a lot of options. Just select the desired format and you're done. The most common destination is video. Although uncommon, it is possible to share just the video. Otherwise, with video and audio selected, choose a preset or set the desired codec, resolution, file type, and color space as desired. Use the descriptions below each preset as a guide. Once the desired settings are selected, tap Export to start the export process. This can take a little bit of time, so make sure Final Cut remains open and the iPad powered up while it finishes. I did have a few issues with longer import and export processes that were resolved when I extended the auto lock setting of the iPad. If you do have similar issues, try setting the auto lock to never. Once the export finishes, the share sheet provides a list of destinations like social media platforms, messages, and AirDrop. Save video or save to files are also useful for storing the video. For those of you that use Final Cut Pro on your Mac to edit, you will likely want to send the project to your computer to continue with the additional capabilities the full version of Final Cut Pro provides. To continue working on the project on a Mac, or to send it to another iPad, tap Share to Final Cut Pro for iPad Project. Including all media bundles the entire project so it's ready to send over. If you previously shared the media and know it is already in the destination, uncheck this to make the file smaller and quicker to share. Some of these projects will be massive in size. Choose to AirDrop it to your computer or use the Save to Files option to save directly to an external drive. Moving to the Mac, I'll double-click on the project, which opens Final Cut Pro and creates a new library for the project. A default event is also added, and inside the media and project timeline are ready for additional editing. As you've seen, Final Cut makes the export process simple with the standard share sheet available to iPad OS. The ability to export the project with media to an external drive makes it simple to move to another iPad or computer if you want to continue editing using the full version of Final Cut. If your project is finished and shared, I would love to see your work. Drop a link of your project in the comments. As you continue to work with Final Cut Pro for iPad, I'm sure you'll have moments you didn't agree with. The user guide, tutorials, and support page are linked in the top left. I strongly encourage utilizing the send feedback option to send a message to Apple, the developers of Final Cut Pro, with any feedback you have. As for this training series, you can leave me a message in the comments or reach out on anawesomeguide.com/support or via @FinalCutProHelp.
I was tired of riding in the dark, knowing drivers may not see me with just the stock lights. That's why I built this easily attachable light system called OneGlows. OneGlows is a compact and convenient solution for your one-wheel lighting needs. Whether you need extra light while riding at night, to be seen, or want to customize your ride with custom colors, OneGlows is the solution. The custom case attaches easily to your one wheel and contains powerful LEDs, providing both white light and a range of colors. Thanks to the built-in Bluetooth, you can use the OneGlows app on your phone to customize the color. OneGlows is powered by an integrated rechargeable battery, and the custom case allows it to easily detach for recharging or day riding. Take your rides to the next level with OneGlows.